So since we're already running behind, I want to get right to it. What Dogma Debate is known for, what a lot of podcasts are becoming known for, what I really like to do in this movement is have peaceful dialogue with people we disagree with. And so many people are starting to see that that's very much possible. It's not only possible, I think it is the more responsible thing to do. And I want to talk about how we can actually do that. It was Aristotle that said, it is the mark of an educated mind to entertain a thought without accepting it. So you don't have to accept someone's idea in order to acknowledge that the thought itself actually does exist. And that's why this talk is called Learning to Love Your Enemy. Because deep down, if you really think about all the things that are important to you in the social movement as activists, and there are many Christian activists here and atheist activists here, that's ultimately what you may consider one another is social justice enemies. And understand that, but that doesn't mean that we can't love one another and have productive conversations. Because let's face it, wrong people are everywhere. They are everywhere. They are your coworkers, family members, your love interests, your business partners. By the way, my love interest is never wrong. I just want to go on record with that. But why debate? Why even engage in the debate in the first place? Well, it's not always to change that person's mind. So many people say that to me. I can't even believe you have a show called Dogma Debate. It's not even worth debating. Whether they're Christians or they're atheists, they'll say, I don't even understand the point in debating. You're not going to change their mind. It's not always about that. Sometimes it's for you guys. Sometimes it's for the audience. Sometimes it is. And then sometimes, when you're having those direct conversations with folks, you're trying to actually influence that person's worldview. And that's okay to influence that person's worldview, but you have to understand that they are there to do the precise same thing. They're trying to influence your worldview. So you're there trying to influence yours. Don't get upset with them when they try to influence yours. That's what the conversation is about. So be open to that. Go into it knowing that some things may offend you. But that's okay because these conversations need to happen. It's not a fight, it's a discussion. Talking about ideas, even if you find them ridiculous, can be a learning experience and they can build relationships. So remember why you care. Now, this is really for the people who aren't necessarily in these formal debates, but are talking with your family members at home. You have to understand it's a totally different feel, right? I mean, if you're in a formal debate, you make your presentation, you're totally uninterrupted for 10-minute blocks, and everything's fine. Well, your mom's not going to let you talk for 10 minutes without interrupting. Mine won't. I don't know. I can't talk for 10 seconds. But the point is, the family conversation is going to be a little different. So typically, you're having the conversation because you believe in this person's ability to actually get it. You're talking with the person because you not only want to convince them of your worldview or influence them, a lot of times you want them to just understand you. You want them to understand if you're a Christian, you want them to understand that it's not that you're delusional or ridiculous, it's that you have a certain level of faith. It's that there's something you believe in, and you can convince that person of that. And if you're an atheist, you want to convince that Christian family member, you're not just angry with God, there are reasons you don't believe. When we think about counseling, as our friend here, Charlie Brown, needed, he goes to Lucy and he says, I have deep feelings of depression. What can I do about this? And because she's certified, she says, snap out of it. 5 cents, please. So many people think that this kind of argument will actually work, but is your method of talking about logic actually logical? Think about it for a moment. If you were to go to counseling, if you're trained in counseling, you think, oh, if I can just get to a counselor, all my problems will be solved. You think somehow this person is going to fix you. That's where I'm getting at. And then you get there and what happens? Questions. They ask questions after questions. And the reason is cognitive behavioral therapy. You ask questions, you block typical habits, and then you offer other solutions. The point is because hearing your own ideas, hearing your ideology, hearing your answers and reasons for things really helps you understand where you're coming from. And people, I'm telling you, all of the debates I've had on my show, I couldn't possibly be nearly as effective at telling someone what they think as opposed to them hearing themselves say it. And how can they ever hear themselves say it if you don't let them talk? If you're constantly interrupting them, if you're constantly cutting them off and rewording their argument to throw back in their face. It's not a trap game. Well, why do these things get so heated? Why does it get so so many people get so angry at it. Well, it's because these are important issues. Respect can be very difficult in these issues. And I get a lot of emails from listeners that will say, look, I like your approach. I'm glad that you let Christians talk on your show, and I'm glad that Christians and atheists can have that type of dialogue, but I just can't respect that view because, and then they give me a reason why. I understand that that can be difficult. Keep in mind, believers feel that religion is positive, peaceful, empowering for change, a tool of forgiveness, and a source for morality. And quoting the right Bible verses or doing the right type of research, they can make a case for this in many cases. Non-believers feel religion is misogynistic, homophobic, oppressive to women, anti-science, and harmful to society, which could also be proved if you flip to the right verses. Believers feel that humanism is missing the point of salvation, is self-centered, possibly endorsed by Satan, harmful to society, sending good people to hell. They'll say things like my friend John Christie tells me, I love you so much and you're a good father and you're a good guy, but I just can't believe that you're going to go to hell. That bothers me that you're going to hell. Well, he blames my humanism for going to hell. And so that's why so many people, think about it, guys. If you are clearly the bad guy, you have broken into the home, and there's clearly the good guy there that wants to stop you, you both know where you stand. You know you're not supposed to be there. He knows that you're not supposed to be there. You know who has the right of way there, right? But if you both think that what you're doing is the most positive thing for humanity, you'll fight for it. And that's the issue. We have to understand that the other side honestly believes they are doing what's best for society. Non-believers look at humanism as helping others without oppression, as being peaceful, empowering to women, and good for society. And it's okay to be angry. That is one pissed off baby. It's okay to be angry. Think about it. If you're a Christian, after all, this guy exists. It's true. Atheists have a reason to be angry too. There are a couple more, maybe. I don't know. But let's think about that anger. It's okay to have the anger, but let's talk about your anger versus your behavior. Is angry action productive? Because you can't undo an entire worldview in a single conversation, especially if you're screaming at them. So many people think you can. If you'll just listen to me, if you'll just pay attention, maybe if I scream louder and call you names, you'll finally get it. Is that really going to be productive? And ask yourself, is your anger at your own failure at instantly converting or deconverting them? If you're a believer and you have an atheist relative that you've been talking to and you get so angry with them, are you angry at them or are you angry at yourself for missing your own expectation of bringing them to the Lord in a single conversation? Or if you're an atheist and you're talking to your Christian relative, are you angry at them? Or did you expect to be Christopher Hitchens and you feel like you're failing at coming up with these wonderful things to say? The point is, regardless of which side you're on, you want these people to revisit the topic. You want them to continue to research. And if every time they bring it up to you, you give them this horrible feeling inside, they're just going to want to push it out of their lives. And that's a reality. So atheists, you're very well within your rights to be angry at the atrocities supported by belief, but directing that anger toward the individual believer can often be counterproductive. A lot of times they will go back into their religion for the safety. You will play into the stereotype that atheists are just angry. And Christians, I understand you are very well within your rights to be angry at atheism for driving your specific views out of public schools, fighting for laws that are anti-biblical. But directing that anger toward the individual atheist is not a good representation of the peaceful things that you love about your faith. Stop and ask yourself that. So, I like to propose a diplomatic approach. I think that's the best way to do this. Some people have called it a David Smalley approach. I would never call it that. I would never be so arrogant as to call it that. That would be rude of me to assume that you would actually call it that. So this diplomatic approach that I want to talk about is really finding common ground, admit your own doubts and imperfections, encourage skepticism across the board. Believers try to understand skeptics. Skeptics try to understand the believer, understand each other's side, and help each other discover our own skepticism, and above all, ask questions, because ultimately we believe in the person, not the ideology. Understand how many people combine the two. And I don't want to stereotype, but a lot of atheists seem to be disconnected from their ideology by going, well, I'm not married to it. It's something that I feel is a certain way, but I won't get offended if you say atheism is wrong. A lot of believers will. They feel that they are a part of that ideology or that religion is them. Once again, John Christie in the movie My Week in Atheism that we just finished, he actually says, I am that religion. So when you attack the religion and you think, hey, I'm not talking about you, the individual, I'm attacking the belief system, a lot of times they will still take it personally. So understand that a lot of times those are woven together. Address the ideas and values with skepticism rather than ridicule. And approach it from the standpoint of explaining your position, not immediately discrediting someone else's. And respect the person and their ability to change their worldview. This one really bothers me. Understand that intelligence is not a factor. So many people want to insult believers, call them idiots, and worse, simply for not believing. There are brilliant people with differing worldviews, and atheists aren't always good skeptics. Don't think that because you lack a belief in a deity, you are the ultimate skeptic. I'll show you my inbox, and Seth will show you his. Keep the discussion about worldviews and evidence and not about intelligence. And then we need to understand group psychology. And I'll get through this quickly because I know you're all here to see this debate, and I'm excited about it too. Dr. David Eller writes the following in his book, Atheism Advanced from 2007. Within groups, negative attitudes toward other members are minimized or denied, resulting in narcissism toward the group and hostility toward outsiders. Such groups overlook the failings of their own. So you see, when you're Catholic and atheists make a mistake, or an atheist makes a mistake, it's not because that person made an honest mistake, it's because that person is an atheist. But if a fellow Catholic makes a mistake, they're much more likely to forgive the individual because they're a part of that group. So when they draw a line in the sand and go, you're over there in that group, I'm over here in this group, we're enemies, we're fighting. And everything that you do, it's because you're in that group. In 1921, Sigmund Freud noted that in order for a group to strengthen, the people in that group must replace a piece of themselves with a piece of the group, like ego, pride, confidence, etc. A quick example having nothing to do with religion. Think of a freezing cold football game. You've got guys with their shirts off in 12-degree weather with Titans painted across their chest. They wouldn't do that in their front yard. Could you imagine a guy with just a tee in his front yard in 12-degree weather? That's called insanity. But if they all get together and do it at a football game, it's okay because their ego isn't as important as the group's ego. So the group's ego has been replaced by the individual. The same way with confidence. I have pride in this group that I'm in. I have confidence in the group I'm in. And they start to replace a piece of themselves with the piece of the group. So what are we asking when we tell someone they need to leave their belief? We are asking someone to remove a piece of themselves. I'm not saying don't ask them to. I'm not saying don't have the conversations. I'm saying do. I'm just saying understand what you're asking of people and why it is such a sensitive topic. And that's where we get to validation. Validation doesn't mean that you're validating their accuracy or even that their worldview is true. And I'm talking to both atheists and Christians. Christians, whenever you're speaking with an atheist, you can validate that their feelings and their power of their worldview is important to them. That's an important distinction, that you're not validating that their worldview is accurate, but the importance of it in their lives, not to downplay that or try to drag them out of it immediately. Before you begin poking holes, find common ground. Admit your own faults. Show them the human side of your view. Be humble in learning about their worldview, not arrogant in teaching. Atheists, you can tell the believer things like you understand that they feel attached. You understand the emotional connection. You can relate to the social aspects and needs of religion. You understand the fear of being ostracized. You've studied the religious doctrines. You don't have all the answers either, but you're not okay with assuming that a God will fill in the gaps without demonstrable evidence. Explain to them you are a member of their group, the group that cares about truth, reality, and humanity. There doesn't have to be a difference and the line in the sand. Christians, you can tell the atheists you understand their problems with the Bible. Admit the confusion of a loving yet absent God. Tell them you understand their views on that. You can relate to the skepticism of other religions. There are plenty of things Christians are skeptical of. You have questions about the problem of evil too. You don't have all the answers either, but you're not willing to give up your faith without a little more research. And you can reassure the atheist as well. You are a member of their group, the group that cares about truth, reality, and humanity. We're not that different. And Christians, you want to understand atheists, belief isn't a conscious choice. You can't decide to believe something. It either makes sense to you or it doesn't. While many atheists want to see religion eventually go away, it doesn't mean they all want it to happen by force. As Greta Christina points out in her book, Why Are You Atheists So Angry? So stop acting like you want it to go away by force. Most atheists support your constitutional rights to keep your religion, but they also support their own rights of being productive without it and children's rights not to be harmed by its practices. There's a lot of love in the atheist community. Share that with your believing loved ones. And to understand Christians, belief is very, very powerful. Many people in this crowd tonight who have been believers, you understand the power of belief and religion. And while many Christians are forceful in their ways of debating, they want you to come to faith by choice. They really do. They truly feel it's better for you. They feel like they are saving your soul. And most of them love you enough to have the debate. And I know that sounds horrible, but when they feel like it feels to you that they are being condescending to you, remember, they actually believe that God is on their side and they love you enough to have this conversation. When people say, I'll pray for you, so many times that offends a lot of atheists. It doesn't offend me, and the reason it doesn't offend me is I understand what they mean. If an atheist said it to me, I know that they're being a smartass. Because you guys do that all the time. But when a Christian says, I'll pray for you, they honestly feel like they are doing that for you and that they love you. And I personally say thank you. I don't fight that. I don't think that's a point of debate. So ask questions. But when you do, remember the potential of group psychology. So avoid sarcasm and ridicule. A strong negative opposition strengthens the group mindset. Being negative or hateful does not help prove your case. Remember that. So many people say, well, I can attack the idea without attacking the person. That's technically true. A la Lawrence Krauss. I agree, that is true. But if we think about what I said on group psychology, a lot of times the believer becomes a piece of their religion. So if you attack the idea thinking that you're not attacking the individual, they can still take it very, very personally, because without even knowing it, you've attacked the person when you thought you were attacking an idea. Be sincere in your inquiry. Don't ask leading questions or trap questions. Make an effort to understand why the person holds this worldview. I'm personally intrigued by people with specific worldviews, and I want to know why. And you open the conversation. Say things to them like, tell me why you disagree with me. Tell me why you disagree. Ask questions like, how do you reconcile A with B? You've stated this. How do you reconcile the two? Be respectfully assertive. Make no mistake about it. I'm not saying be a pushover, don't defend yourself. I still do, and anyone that listens to Dogma Debate knows that I do. But I'm respectful when I'm being assertive. Hold them accountable for their words. Ask them for demonstrable evidence. Ask them how they know. Challenge their responses for accuracy. Ask why they believe that answer to be true. And voice your concerns with sincerity. Ask yourself, am I ridiculing this person to get a laugh out of the people standing around? Or am I actually trying to make progress with this individual? Remain open to disagreement so that they will. In short, what I'm saying is display the behavior you desire. So many people will email me and say, I cannot believe the restraint you had on your show. Can't believe you didn't flip out. Have you ever given credit to the Christian? Think about what the Christian is doing. The Christian's not flipping out on me. It's because I'm displaying the behavior that I want. I'm being respectful. They stay respectful with me. I don't feel like it's dishonest. I just feel like it's the more productive way to move forward. Even though some of the things that I hear upset me, I'm not going to throw that anger back at the individual because I don't want them to build up walls and stop listening. I want to make progress. Most importantly, listen to what they actually say, not what you think they're going to say. Be open to criticism of your ideas. Remain calm but assertive. Present non-threatening arguments. I know. How could you present a non-threatening argument to someone who holds something so dearly? Well, again, back to that idea of ask them to separate their personality from their ideology, or at the very least make them aware that there is a connection. A lot of people don't even realize that they've stepped into that group mindset and that they have integrated their own ego or their own personality with their beliefs. So make them aware of that and ask them to separate just for a moment. Keep your questions and answers short. So many times I've been in a conversation and piled so much onto people that they don't have enough time, and they start to feel overwhelmed and they get angry because they can't even remember some of the things I've said. However, if you keep it short, you can have a productive conversation. And engage everyone. Always search for the truth. Continue to have these types of conversations. Be respectful. Set a good example for whichever group you feel like you're representing. Talk to your family members who disagree with you. Join local groups, which many of you already have. Invite debates, not just amongst formal debates, but of those people in your family that you care about. And finally, and above all else, please, never pass up a chance to have a conversation. Because the next mind you change could change thousands. Thank you.